On the morning of the 28th of July 2025, the district of Miyun, in the northeast of Beijing, awoke beneath a heavy, brooding sky. Dark clouds hung low, and from the early hours the rain simply would not stop. At first, it seemed like just another stormy day, something the locals had endured many times before. But as the hours passed, the steady patter of raindrops became a relentless curtain of water, and what had begun as an inconvenience swiftly turned into a nightmare. Streets disappeared beneath swirling, muddy water. Strong currents swept away cars, walls, and even small buildings. The constant roar of rain was broken only by the wail of sirens echoing across the district. In Taishitun, a small town within Miyun, the disaster struck with particular cruelty. A care home, meant to be a place of peace and safety, was suddenly surrounded by floodwaters. 69 elderly residents were trapped inside, many too frail to walk. Communication lines were down, the power had failed, and the water was rising fast. Rescuers battled the clock and the dangerous conditions to reach them. Every minute felt like an eternity. When they finally broke through, the reality was heartbreaking. 31 lives had already been lost. Families were left with no chance for goodbyes. The amount of rain that fell in just a few days was staggering, almost the same as the area would normally receive in an entire year. More than 80,000 people were forced to abandon their homes, many leaving with nothing but the clothes they wore. Roads were torn apart, bridges collapsed, and whole communities were cut off. The sheer force of the water uprooted trees, swept through shops, and scarred both the landscape and the hearts of those who lived there. Officials later admitted they were unprepared for anything of such magnitude. The emergency plans had never accounted for water arriving with such speed and ferocity. Yet, once the scale of the crisis was clear, a massive rescue operation was launched. Boats cut through the murky waters in search of survivors, lorries carried supplies, and generators brought electricity back to critical areas. Men and women worked tirelessly, risking their own safety to save others. When at last the rain stopped and the waters began to recede, the full extent of the devastation emerged. Streets lay buried under thick mud, homes had been swept away, and many families were still searching for loved ones. The town fell into a heavy silence, broken only by the mechanical rumble of diggers clearing the wreckage. The tragedy in Miyun and Taishitun was not simply the result of heavy rain, it was a stark reminder of nature's unpredictability and power. It is a story of loss, but also of courage and solidarity. And it stands as a warning: we must be ready for the unexpected, because when nature decides to show its strength, there is no time left to improvise.